Hey guys, it's Runchuks from BluffTheSpot, back with another episode of our weekly podcast show. MMAshergod is my guest this time, one of the best no-limit hold'em players at the moment. We covered so many topics: his goals for 2020, outlook on the high-stakes games, longevity in poker, win rates, best players in the game, study approaches, moving up the stakes, MMA's high-stakes course, and that's just to name a few. And you can find the timestamps in the description below. And remember, if you want to participate in our discussions, you can join us every Wednesday at 6 p.m. CET on BluffTheSpot Twitch channel. And one last thing, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that like button for this video. I mean, we've got MMAshergod here. What's there not to like, right? And seriously, I really appreciate your support for this channel. And now, let's go. And we're live.
All right, sweet. I already announced it in the Twitch chat.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that. Anyway, exciting thing. I've been away from this little podcast of ours for 2 weeks. Cool to be back, and what a guest. I mean, I'm starting pretty high up there. So yeah, looking forward to this one. So MMAshergod, everyone. Probably you don't need introduction on our stream. I mean, people should know who you are by now.
I play poker sometimes.
That pretty much sums it up.
More often than sometimes. But
right.
I play that poker game that you guys may have heard of. So what's up, guys?
Yeah. Well, speaking actually, because now I realize, my graphics for the stream says PLO Wednesday. We're not going to be talking anything about PLO. Well, we might, but that's not the point. We might. It's just the name of the show that I chose some time ago. And actually, if anybody of the viewers has some ideas, you guys chip in the chat.
You can ask anything you like. No limit, PLO, mixed games, life. I don't know, anything you like. Sometimes we have really intellectual discussions on when I stream, and sometimes we talk about disgusting stuff as well. So it's a hangout, right? You can ask whatever you like. Right. We may not answer your question, but we probably will.
Well, we'll try. Anyway, listen, it's the beginning of the year. Everybody's setting goals. Everybody's setting their, wish lists, to-do lists, etc., etc. What about you?
Well, I'm not sure you need the new year to set goals. I think you should set those anyway. It can just be some kind of motivational tool. For me, I try to set some short, mid, and long-term goals. So my goal is basically to keep improving in poker, play a lot of volume, play smart to make as much money as I can, try and keep working on BluffTheSpot, try and keep working on my health and my fitness, going to different places. I want to travel the world this year, spending more time with family, just developing myself as a person, just being as good of a person I can be. Nothing special. So what you should note from that is that I stick to the basics, right? So I don't do any outlandish things. I just focus on the basics like health, family, career, hobbies, whatever, and that's it. In my opinion, you don't need more than that. Some people do, but anything else is not for me. Like some kind of jet set lifestyle is not really for me. What's up, Sig the Joker? Always a loyal follower.
All right, listen, you know what? I like your approach in a way that, you're not going way too detailed. I see so many people fall into a trap of setting some goals that limit themselves eventually. Like say, my goal is I want to win 1 million this year or something like that. Setting some monetary goals because it's so counterproductive. It makes no sense. Because what happens if you win 1 million in February? So what, you take the rest of the year off and what's this goal, right?
Exactly. And my first blog was called Become SNE and Make 250K. And when I look back at that title, I completely disagree with that, because as you said, if you're running good, you'll start becoming lazy, right? And you also pat yourself in the back, and you may be doing a good job, but it doesn't mean you should not be lazy. At the same time, you cannot just work 100 hours a week and play mindlessly when you're behind schedule, right? So you can just say, I want to have a certain amount of productive hours in which I play, improve my game, and do other stuff. And that generates me a certain type of VV roughly. And if I win more, that's great. If I win less, that's too bad, but that's all you can do. But I would not really look at the results too much. I would not be too results oriented, because otherwise you start changing your approach, and then you constantly keep looking at how far along you've gotten, and you will maybe change your play or just drive yourself crazy, right? Like, for instance, we've all done this in the past. Let's say you're down a buy-in, you're in a big pot and you say, I'm going to bluff this hand because then, I'm almost even if I get it through. But that's completely irrelevant, right? That line between minus whatever and 0 is a completely arbitrary line. It doesn't matter at all. You should just look at the hand and see, is this the best way I can play my hand? That's the only question in mind.
Yeah, awesome advice. I completely agree with you. I mean, obviously, it's a timeless advice. Everybody should follow this.
Mm-hmm. And also, one more piece of advice, it's kind of the same. Poker or your career in general is a marathon, not a sprint, right? For instance, you can set a New Year's resolution of going to the gym 6 days a week, and you'll do that for 1 month, and then you'll end up not going for 6 months because you hate it, right? Excuse me. But if you say, I go 3 times a week, which is actually reasonable, that's something you can maintain. Because what you want in the end is to be going 3 times a week all year long, right? Or the same with your diet. You can eat grass for 3 weeks in a row and do all kinds of cleanses or whatever. And after a while, you hate it so much that all you do is eat cheeseburgers, right? So if you just eat a healthy diet, but allow yourself a little bit of junk food, just a little bit, of course, you can actually maintain that. Whereas if you push it too far, eventually you'll relapse, let's say, and move in the other direction.
Oh, so true. So true. And especially that statement, poker, the career of poker is a marathon, not a sprint. It's so true. And it applies even, I see it like even on a micro scale. Let's say when I used to go for a live trip for, let's say, 2 months or something, 3 months, right? And I would see my fellow professionals, let's say, do the same thing, come over for 2 months, 3 months, and they burn out after like a month just because, not sticking to any schedules, not thinking ahead, not thinking that, hey, I'm here for the long run, I need to stay fresh, I need to stay focused, I need to stay healthy for the whole trip. Instead, they would just so often burn out after like 2-3 weeks, and then the rest of the trip is just wasted.
Yeah, and when I was in my early 20s, this was all easily possible, but now that I've gotten older, I'm not that old yet, but now that I've gotten older, I also don't want to do that anymore, right? I don't want to go to Macau and play 48 hours straight. I don't mind grinding my ass off, but 48 hours and then you just feel wrecked for another day, it's just not fun anymore. So it also depends on where you're at in your poker career. In the beginning, you should be working your absolute ass off because that's when your passion is at its highest. You have the most energy. But once you're in the middle and towards the end of your career, you have to work hard, but you cannot wreck yourself like that anymore because that really shortens your career.
Oh, absolutely.
And more is not always better in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a question if we think that working out is plus CV for poker, and Ponyball is saying that working out is plus CV for everything. And in fact, there's a bigger issue here that not only working out, but in general maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Like MMA was saying, keeping track of the diet, health, family, etc., so important, because where your mind is going to be, where your mental state is going to be, it's going to be reflected in your game, the quality of decisions you can make, and, on your studies, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before I read Ponyball's comment, I was going to say the same thing. Working out is good for life, right? When I feel really when I'm really burned out and I go to the gym, and I do whatever, maybe kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, or I lift weights, go to the sauna afterwards, I stretch, I have a swim, do some cardio. I just feel much better. So you should be doing that regularly. Even if you're listening and you have let's say a normal 9-to-5 job, yes, I would recommend working out on a daily basis. Even stuff like walking to work if possible, or walking to the supermarket, just being active in general. And one little additional tip is that you should get a stand-up desk. It's about $500, so it's not that cheap, but it's not more expensive than a regular desk. But since I started using one about 6 months ago, a little bit longer, I've needed less sleep every day. I have more energy. My back doesn't hurt. My mood is better. It's just really, it's not life-changing. Sounds dramatic, but it has kind of changed my life in a positive way. So, and I would imagine that in 20 years, there will not be any offices anymore without a stand-up desk. Everybody will have them. It's just so much better for you. So if you can afford it, I would definitely recommend getting a stand-up desk, especially if you sit at home a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally, relate to that. I got mine just recently, and well, too early to say whether it's going to change my life, but I love it. It's absolutely amazing experience. Especially like what it allows me to do is stay in, let's say, the office. Let's call it an office. Stay longer, right? Because I need less frequent breaks because I can just change from standing to sitting, and that kind of changes a lot of things already.
Yeah, I agree. It's good. Let's look at some questions. Let's see. Do you have any information on our webinar? It's coming out in the next few days, Sick the Joker. So all the content's been finished, but one of the gentlemen who's been helping us edit it, he had some internet issues, so there's a slight delay, but it will be out. I'm not gonna mention a day because who knows, but it's going to be out within the next few days for sure. So, and it's going to be free if you sign up by email, which you can do on the BluffTheSpot website. So BluffTheSpot.com. I skip swimming to watch a stream. Well, we appreciate the dedication, Sick the Joker. So let's see, is there anything else here? 1 or 2 hour stream. It's going to be a 2 hour stream today, Herx. So do you work out every day? Do you work out every day, Runchuks? I definitely do not. At a certain point, again, it gets too much, right? If I want, as I said before, if I were to work out 6 days a week, I just feel really weak, and that hurts my poker career and the rest of my life. But if I work out 3-4 times a week, it actually elevates my my quality of life. So you have to check. You have to see what's best for you, right? It depends on the sport you do, how often, how rough it is, how far you have to travel to get there. If you do stuff like powerlifting, you definitely can't do it every day because you'll have no more knees and hips left, right? And it's just too exhausting. But if you go for like a simple jog, yeah, you could do that maybe 5 times a week. It's not that intense, right? If you do something like CrossFit, I don't train CrossFit. I imagine that's pretty heavy for your body. So obviously you cannot do this every single day. So you have to, again, see it as a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you asked if I work out every day. Definitely not. I pretty much don't work out. That's the sad truth, right? I mean, I tend to walk a lot or go for like a short run or something, but I think it's going to change this year, actually, quite a bit, because I moved to a new place, a remote location, pretty decent hikes around, so I'm going to do a lot of those. And I have a swimming pool, so
nice.
Might be working out a bit more.
Yeah, you just have to get into it. Once you get into it and you see it as part of your routine, it's not that difficult. But like me, I haven't been working out much because I've been at home in my parents' basement for the last month, where it's really cold. So I don't really have the energy to go out. So I do some home workouts. I have a few weights right here. I do some shadow boxing, stuff like that. But yeah, getting back into the gym is not going to be easy. You really have to make it your routine.
Right. And in general, like, I'm not too much a gym person. Like, I don't like the idea of the gyms. I never did. There was a period in my life where I probably went to a gym regularly for about a year, tried to gain weight and stuff, like muscle mass. But for the most part, when I worked out, for many, many years, I was doing martial arts, and that was like a regular workout of 3 weeks.
What did you do?
Three days a week. I used to do some Japanese traditional martial arts, jiu-jitsu, related to jiu-jitsu, and then a bit of Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. I love those sports. It's just such a great workout, and such a great experience as well. It kind of clears your mind because you have to be fully focused on that thing. Nothing else exists in the moment, and it's so good for your body. It's just amazing.
Yeah. No, I like it as well. So, hi MMA. So where's the graph of 2019? Coming this week, I promise, Sue. So, do you guys do yoga? I've never done. I've done yoga once. It's actually quite intense. So I can't really recommend it because I don't know enough about it. But I've heard good things about it. Have you ever done yoga?
I did once, yeah, as well. Just as a favor, because somebody asked me to, like, hey, can you join? Yeah, sure. And did it once. Once was enough for me.
Yeah, I remember we did it as at the kickboxing class. So it was always all these like muscled up tough guys, and all of them were moaning as if how can I say this in a nice way? We're at the start of the stream. I'm not going to make it too vulgar yet. Anyway, they were moaning as if they were giving birth almost, and there was this like tiny little lady who was the yoga instructor, and she was doing everything effortlessly. So that was pretty impressive to see how, I mean, there were guys they were doing 40 pull-ups and they were like, oh, let's do some yoga. And then they couldn't last for more than 2 minutes. Whereas this tiny little lady just kicked everybody's butt, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's impressive, those yoga people. I've seen some regular, I don't know how you call the yoga people. People who do yoga. Yogis. Some of the yogis. I mean, it's insane what they can do. Like the core strength is incredible, and flexibility, obviously. But yeah, it's quite incredible. Must be healthy. Must be good for you. But like you said earlier, people should do what works for them. Right? Don't just go into yoga because somebody said, hey, yoga is the best thing. Like, if you enjoy it, it's easier to stick with the habit. It's easier to keep going because, again, it's a marathon. There's no point of doing something for like 2 weeks and then giving up, Just choose something that is easy for you to stick with.
Yeah. Plus I heard that is it yogi or yogis? I don't know.
I suppose yogis, yeah.
I heard that they are freaks in bed, so maybe you should marry one. But then on Sunday you'll have to join them for yoga class. So I don't know. Maybe don't marry one. I don't have a solid read on that yet.
Well, if it's just one Sunday a week, I suppose.
Yeah, but like yogi or yogis are always very fanatic. So she's not going to be like, oh yeah, just stay home and watch TV while I go train. You're going to have to get your ass to the gym, right? And
eventually you're going to have to turn vegan and whatnot. And I don't know. Don't know about that.
At least you don't have to shower anymore. That's one upside.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
All right, enough with the stereotypes.
Yeah.
We're only 15 minutes in. Shadow boxing, did I win? Yeah, the other guy got quite an ass kicking. So the thing is, since it's my shadow and I have a pretty big nose, it was quite easy to hit me. So, yeah. How achievable is 5 big blinds win rate at 25 zoom? Achievable. I mean, it's not easy, right? That's a nice win rate, but yeah, it's achievable. You're just gonna have to do a lot of work on your game. You're gonna have to game select, time select, be smart about all your decisions, and really focus on quality of play. And then you can definitely make that. So let's say I play 25 zoom. I honestly have no idea what my win rate would be. I have no idea. What is the rake at 25 zoom? 10 plus big blinds, right?
I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't think you can get an astronomical win rate just because of the rake. At 25.50, I pay 0.8 big blinds rake, right? So if let's say I have a 4 BB win rate post rake, I mean, I only lost 8 big, right? 0.8. So I mean that's less than 20%. So that's really not that bad, right? I mean, it's roughly 20%. So it's really not that bad if you have to pay that in rake. But if you have to pay 3/4 of your win rate in rake, that sucks. So getting to around 2.4, 2.5, that's really important because that's when you really get over the rake hump. The rake is your biggest opponent at low stakes. That's the way it is. So it's very important to find the right sites to play on, find the right times to play on, because that may affect your win rate quite a bit, right? So if let's say I look through a few hands with you, I'm going to make you a better player, but it's not easy for me to just, within one session, make you like 2 big blinds per 100 better. But if you pay 2 big blinds in rake, right? If you pay 2 big blinds more in rake, that's a really big difference. So it's very important to, as I said, game select, side select, time select, not play too many tables, focus on quality of play, etc.
I don't even know what to add. You pretty much nailed it there. And the same applies for PLO. It really doesn't matter which game we're talking about, And in a PLO, the rake is going to be even bigger issue because of the nature of the game. You just get it in way, way more often. The pots are at max cap, at the rake cap, way more often than hold'em. So,
no, for sure, you have to be careful. Let's see. What do you think about Runchuks versus MMA? We're both old, man. Nobody would want to watch that. That would be like Chuck Liddell against Tito Ortiz.
Well, I'd watch that, but not us, but those two guys, yeah.
Well, they recently had a rematch, and Chuck is like 48 years old and has probably quite a bit of brain damage. It was really sad.
Right.
It was like seeing a kid get bullied or something, because he actually lost to Tito twice, but Tito's much younger, and he's still like, a solid fighter who's active and seems more lucid, whereas Chuck has some serious issues with his health going on, it seems. And yeah, it was just sad. It was just sad. That fight should have never That fight should have never happened. That was really sad.
Oh well, I mean that's the nature of the sport, you know. You go too hard on your body when you're young. Eventually, you pay at some point, you know.
Yep, exactly. What do you think about waking up early at like 4 or 5 and taking a cold shower? I know that's like the Navy or the Navy SEAL approach. I can't do that. I used to wake up at between 8 and 9 for a while, but I always take showers at night. Yeah, you can do that to really start your day right. But again, it's not something for everybody, right? Some people absolutely love it. They swear by it. And if it works for you, then keep doing it. But it wouldn't work for me. I don't like taking a shower right after I wake up. Thoughts on semen retention, no fab. I've read into it a little bit, and there's pros and cons. But people are kind of assuming that masturbating is bad, which it really isn't. Again, if you do it all day, every single day, yeah, you might hurt your own productivity. You might not have a realistic view of the world anymore. But if you do it in moderation, why not, right? Then it can be a good thing. I have a sneaky suspicion I know who Safi HYH is. And I'm going to be messaging that person on WhatsApp after the stream because I am pretty sure I know who this is. Anyway.
That's funny. I actually I don't know what the hell you guys talking about. I haven't read anything about it.
So basically,
am I missing out? Should I read something about it, or what's going on here?
I mean, this is like a typical ShowOfForce thing. ShowOfForce is into that. So basically, he only has sex and he doesn't masturbate. So basically, if he's not with anybody, he doesn't touch himself. Basically, because he says it gives him more energy, makes him sleep better, fewer mood swings, whatever.
Okay, good for him. And speaking about that cold shower thing and waking up early, just on top of what you mentioned already, I just have to reiterate that absolutely just do what works for you. Because, again, so many people swear by it, the cold shower. But, and I know a few, right? And famously, Fedor Holtz is one of the proponents of, like, cold showers every day, blah, blah, blah. If it works for you, sure, it's good for you. But if it's always a drag, if it's always, like, a struggle in the morning, like, what's the point of starting a morning with something you absolutely hate and you don't feel any benefits from it, right? And same about waking up early. I mean, it depends. It depends what the rest of your life is, you know, because I've been going back and forth with different routines. I remember when I did my Supernova Elite, that year I was basically always up at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. just because it allowed me to be more productive with my day. I could already put in like a 5-6 hour session before noon, and it was amazing. But the downside of that is like you're super tired at like 7 or 8 and you have to go to sleep at like 9. So what does it do to your social life, right? Mm-hmm. One of the benefits of playing poker is that you have the freedom of basically constructing the time of your life, like constructing the schedule and doing what you want with your time. So think about that, not only about, you know, what the professionals in other industries are doing, because like a lot of benefits of waking up super early is that basically, say if you have a conventional career and you have to go to the office at 9 a.m., well, then if you wake up at 5, then you actually can do some cool stuff before you actually go to work, right? Mm-hmm. But for us, there's no set time when you have to go to work. It's whatever you choose to go to work. You know, obviously you're limited to when the games are running. But if you're playing lower stakes, the games are always running.
Yeah, I agree. So you have to make use of that freedom. If you're a student at BTS and getting staked, are you able to play MTTs as well? Yes, you can play MTTs on your own, Rufus. So, is Oshpiel top 3 in the world? Maybe, who knows? Oshpiel's a good player though. I like the way he plays. He's always been tough. Top 3 is pretty impressive if he were to be on that list. What is the condition for moving up in stakes? 100 buy-ins, 2 BB per 100. That depends on many different things, Sig the Joker, but you don't have to move up right away. So let's say you play NL50 regular tables, and you know you have the bankroll, you know you have the win rate, the confidence, whatever. And you see one good NL100 table, let's say, with a fish you've seen at NL50, and you think this table's worth it, just go sit and play. So you can play, let's say, 5 tables of NL50 and 1 of NL100, right? So you can just very slowly take shots, and maybe eventually you play 4 tables of 100 and 2 tables of 50 NL, right? So you can move between stakes. Just make sure the game's like very tight. Like a table of NL 100 is not just any table, right? At some, your win rate might be twice as high as on others. If you have best position on a big fish, deep stacked, your win rate might be 3-4 times higher than, let's say, worst position on a short nitty fish, right? So just make sure the game's like really tight and slowly take shots. And then eventually you can become an NL 100 reg. But there's no real rule on that. Obviously, you need to have some kind of bankroll and you need to be able to stomach the swings. So what you mentioned, the parameters you mentioned are fine. But you don't have to say, I'm now an NL 100 reg and play bad NL 100 games when you see good NL 50 games, right? That's not how it works. So don't tie yourself to anything. I mean, I do the same.
That's such an important point.
I play NL 2K up to 10K every single day. But then occasionally I play 500 Zoom, or if 20K were to run, I play that, right? So I move up and down in stakes, and I try and find the best games, right? And I'd rather play an amazing 2K game than a horrible 5K game, right? Of course, I'd rather play an amazing 5K game, but if it's not available, all I care about is what makes me the most TV. How many tables are you playing at one time? That really depends. At high stakes, it's really difficult to get a lot of tables at 2K plus, especially even if you have a few different sites open. Ideally, I would play like 6 tables all day, but oftentimes I only have 1 or 2, and then I find some lower stakes tables or some less profitable ones. But if I'm focused on a session, I might as well add them and add a little bit of VV to my grind.
Right, it's the same for me actually, exactly the same. Like most of the time, it's 1 or 2 tables. Ideally is not 6 tables anymore. I used to play a lot of tables, and I used to like it, like playing 16 tables, whatever. I don't see the appeal anymore. Like maybe I'm old, I don't know. Maybe I can't focus that well anymore. But 4 tables is pretty optimal for me. I like 4 tables. Sure. Keeps me the most focused. Yeah, well, depends on the game, but usually like 4 tables is pretty optimal. But nowadays, yeah, it's like 1, 2 tables. Well, mostly though 2 to 3 tables, to be honest, if you go to all of the sites.
Yeah, it also depends, right? If you have on a like a smaller site, you have a game which is a bit lower and the regulars are very bad, you don't really have to focus on that table as much, right? And then you can focus mostly on the bigger tables.
Oh yeah.
But if I had to play like 6 tables of NL10K on PokerStars, right, with tough regulars, that would be a bit much as well. Unless they're also playing, so we have the same disadvantage. But sometimes I see regs play, and they're playing like 8 tables, and I see like 2 guys are reg gaming, and they play 1 or 2 tables, and that gives them a pretty big edge.
Oh yeah.
So, but if everybody's playing 6 tables, and everybody kind of loses the same amount of focus, roughly. Am I going to learn PLO? I've been learning PLO for a while now, so I'm not going to play online anytime soon because it's not worth it for me to play NL 500 PLO Zoom or PLO 500. So I'd have to play high stakes, but for that, I'm not good enough yet. And I don't have time to put in the work. But for live trips, I definitely want to be ready to play some games. Actually, I won more in PLO last year in Vegas than I did in No Limit. So PLO games can be juicy for sure. Ideally, you're competent at both. So when you're waiting for your No Limit game, you can just spend an hour playing PLO and making some money rather than just hanging out at the casino watching sports you don't really like at the Bellagio.
Oh, yeah.
Did MrLeeQ tilt you? MrLeeQ is a tilting person, that's for sure. MrLeeQ is a guy who plays NL10K on PokerStars every day. He basically plays one or 2 tables, and he wins 50K every single session. He's up like 500K in the last 2 months, so he's not that bad. He's a fine player, but obviously he's still the weakest player at the table always. But he literally never leaves the table with less than 30, 40K, but mostly it's around 50. So yeah, I'm down many hundreds of thousands against him already, and I haven't even played too many hands with him. So yeah, he's one of those guys where in a tiny pot even he just always has it and makes it a big pot, and I just always have like the best hand to call with, and then I always lose. So yeah, he's very tilting. Can you only be in the CFP if you're foreign? Well, what is the default country, Big Old Dawson? So, I mean, I'm from a different place than Runchuks is, right? So, as long as you can play poker, you're allowed, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. what your skin color is, what your gender is, your sexual preference. As long as you know how to play poker and you're willing to get better and you're willing to work hard, you can sign up. Other than that, like those other factors are not really relevant. If you were to live in North Korea, yeah, it would be a bit of an issue, right? Because how are we going to get you on a poker site? But as long as we've got that figured out, you can become a student anytime. Do you suggest avoiding Zoom games? Well, you can game select at Zoom as well, right? Sometimes in the morning you see 500 Zoom guys and it's like 22 entries with like 140 big blind fish, and there's like one player in the entire pool that's plus EV or like break even, right? And then people at the end of the day say, hey, look, I played my target amount of targeted hands, let's say 1 or 2,000, and then they're happy with their effort. So yeah, they put in quite a bit of effort, but if you look at the amount of money they made, it's very, very little and probably nothing, right? So I'd rather play 500 hands in a great game in the evening than 1,000 hands where you're likely minus EV or at best winning a tiny, tiny bit. That's just pointless. So you have to be smart with your effort because you cannot just play 24 hours a day. You can only play maybe 5-6 hours a day, and then you have to take a break, right, until tomorrow. So you have to find the highest EV games within reason without having to grind at 6 in the morning.
Right, and then at some stakes, like you said, it sometimes if you game select correctly, Zoom can be the most plus EV game. At the higher stakes, it's very unlikely to happen because there's also a dynamic of, fighting for your seats. So there's little incentive for the high stakes guys to actually start Zoom pools because it kind of levels the field for everyone. Because, what do you see oftentimes, like, because myself and yourself as well, like oftentimes we just sit in the lobby on our tables and waiting for the games, right? So we would wait and fight for the tables, right? We would fight for our seat. The table fills up and like within 2 minutes you have like 12 or 16 people on the waiting list. And that's fair, because me and you, we were waiting the whole day. We were fighting for the games, willing to play heads up or three-handed against anybody who joins. But if, say, it was a Zoom pool, as soon as a recreational player shows up, everybody gets a chance to play against him. It sucks.
Yeah. Some people open sit Zoom, let's say 10, 20, 25, 50, you can do that, and it attracts an occasional fish, but 25-50 Zoom No Limit hasn't run in almost a year. There's one guy who plays regularly, but even then the game is terrible. You have like 20 entries with 1 or 2 recreational entries. Oftentimes they don't play full stacked. Usually the weaker regulars don't join because the fish to reg ratio is pretty low, so you're playing good regs again. At least you're playing decent volume, but the EV is not that great. But at the same time, if you play high stakes, you sometimes have to just, you have to just accept what you can get. Because we cannot always be too picky. You should not play minus EV games just to play, because again, you might as well just stay in bed then. But, I'd rather, like, if the game has mediocre EV and I'm already playing other tables, I will still play.
Right.
How do you handle holiday breaks? I don't do holiday breaks. Actually, right now, I haven't played poker in a day and a half, which I haven't done in a year, I guess. The last time I took a break from poker was 3 years ago. So I'm actually going to take a few days off now because of some personal stuff going on, and then go to Mexico. So this will be my first vacation in years, actually. Even during Christmas, I checked. I played in December. I played every single day. Every single day, minimum 6 hours. I don't ever take breaks. And it's probably something I have to work on. I work too hard. I've kicked some of the students' asses before saying, you guys are being lazy. But at the same time, I'm pushing it too much as well, but then in the opposite way. Wow. So how do you handle holiday breaks?
You know what? I probably can answer about it because I do take a lot of breaks. Right? And I'm super surprised to hear, like, man, I wish I had some of your resilience, because I find it hard to just keep, like, I can't imagine myself playing every day. I do take regular blood breaks. I mean, my circumstances are a bit different as well because, like, I have a small kid. I want to spend time with him, with the family. So there's
of course a
lot of things going on. But in general, I do take, well, at least 2 longer breaks in a year. Not because like I really want to, but it's just some family stuff, some trips, whatever. And I can totally relate to the feeling that. Who was the guy? TSU, right? He's saying that after taking like a break for 15 days, it seems like you suck at poker. I used to feel the same way back many, many years ago. And I don't have a problem with like, probably the longest break I took last year was about 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks or something. No problem to get back into the games. And the difference is that now my game is at such a point that everything is structured. I know what I'm doing. There's a process to the game, right? So feeling rusty is not really a thing, right? You can feel rusty about like, okay, I can't play 6 tables because my attention is kind of all over the place. But in terms of making decisions, you just follow the process, So maybe if you're experiencing problems with getting back into the game after taking a break, it just indicates a bigger problem that actually your game is all over the place. You're not really structured in the way you play.
Yeah, I really like that answer. And so if you want to get back into it, just watch some training videos, run some sims, review some hands, right? Really get back into the groove, play fewer tables, focus on improvement, and eventually you build up to your regular and hopefully improved schedule again. So if you haven't played in 3 weeks, don't jump into 4 tables of Zoom at your highest stake right away, right? That's not smart because you haven't activated your poker brain in weeks now. So just get back into it slowly. And also, I mean, you can also say I take less than 15 days off, right? Just say I take 3 days off, and maybe once a year you go on vacation. So again, I'm being a total hypocrite because, I mean, the last time I went on vacation and didn't play poker was in Tanzania in 2016, because I was on a mountain. I was on a mountain in Tanzania. So yeah, you should take a break sometimes, but you can just take a few days off, and maybe you do like one holiday a year, and then you don't think about poker and you get into it slowly. Yeah. Do you think the ceiling of poker in terms of skill is reached? No. I mean, as long as people have an incentive to make a lot of money, they will improve their game. So edges will probably go down. It's not as if I don't think anybody's going to just be 5 big ones better than anybody's right now. But yeah, people will continue to improve because there's still a lot of money to be made. Some people say that poker is dead. Don't listen to Tim Stone, for instance. Poker is not dead. If you're willing to work hard and smart and maybe get a tiny bit of luck, you can make plenty of money. But some people, they've been in the game for 10, 15 years. They just don't want to put in that much effort anymore, right? And then your results drop quickly. I fully understand. I've had that before. I've had passions in life, and after 10 years, I don't love it as much anymore, and I'm not willing to put in that extra bit of effort, and that's usually what makes you a lot of money or a lot of success or whatever you're after with that particular endeavor.
Right. And that kind of ties in with what we were talking in the beginning of the stream about, like working out or choosing what you do, like cold showers or whatever, If you lose the passion, if it's hard to maintain the habit, you're going to start losing it, And the problem with poker, what a lot of people, the people like you described, people playing over 10 years, and I'm one of them. I see that a lot of guys that I started with, some long time ago, they kind of fade because they lose the interest and they can't reignite it, but they still see themselves as a poker professional, so they keep playing, right? So you keep playing without trying to improve, which is a fucking recipe for disaster in the current environment, right? So there's one important concept here. You have to, don't put labels on yourself, right? Because like MMAshergod said earlier about when you move up, let's say to the PLO or whatever, NL 100 from NL 50, don't just label yourself okay, now I'm NL 100 player, right? Don't just put a label that limits your options. And that's what happens to a lot of poker players. They just decide, well, I'm a poker player, right? I've been a poker player for 7 years, so I'm going to keep being a poker player. And those people quit when they're broke. And that's so sad, right? Just have to realize that, listen, if you lost the passion, right? Either change something in your life, change something in your study routines, try to reignite that passion, or just fucking quit. There's no point to be a struggling, declining poker player that's just going downward the whole fucking time.
Yeah, for sure. Sig the Joker asks, so you prefer to play in the evening rather than the morning? So again, Joker, that depends on you. right? I've played evenings before, afternoons and evenings. I've played 9 to 6 before. That really depends on you. When your games are best, when you're most motivated, when you have the most energy, that's up to you. And especially if you play lower stakes, there's so many games available throughout the day, and you'll get good fish everywhere that the EV is roughly the same. So you have a lot of freedom. I have less freedom in that sense because if the game's really good, I got to be in it, right? And if I have an amazing game, I will just say, okay, I don't go to the gym. I go tomorrow. But you have more freedom in that sense. So you should just structure it the way you like. There is no right or wrong in that sense, as long as you strive towards max EV while maintaining happiness and longevity.
Right. And listen, I have a question for you, which I think a lot of viewers need to know the answer to, because you've mentioned, like, when there is a good game, you have to play it. And I totally agree with you. Like, I do the same. If there's a good game, I mean, I'm going to pass on a lot of things that I'm otherwise doing. There's, some obligations that I can't just pass because of the game. But, for the most part, if the game is there, I'm going to be playing. But for a low-stakes player, I hear so many times, like somebody playing, let's say, a PLO 100 player, NL 100 player, right? And he's going to say, oh, listen, I have this amazing game. I can't quit. I have to play. I'm super tired. I'm on tilt. Whatever. I shouldn't be playing, but I have to play because it's an amazing game. And I think, like, dude, is it really such an amazing game? You're playing stakes where amazing game pops up like 20 times a day, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Don't just, kind of sacrifice everything for your amazing game, considering that this amazing game is going to show up very soon, right? Because for MMAshergod, for example, you miss that game, well, the next time you see it, maybe it's going to be in a couple weeks' time, right?
Or a year.
Or a year, yeah. And that's a problem. That's why we have to play those games, because, like, if you miss those games, well, I mean, there are not many options for those games around. But, like, if you're playing lower stakes, just realize that these games are there all the time, So just quit, Just quit if you realize that you need a break. You're not focused anymore. You're not able to concentrate. You're struggling with tilt or something. Just quit. This game is going to be, another game like this is going to be around the corner. If it's not tomorrow, it's going to be for sure the day after,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to utilize that freedom of having a lot of games available to you. But so, yeah, we have less freedom. At the same time, because we play, like, we've worked on that mental game and our approach more. That's one of the reasons we play higher. So with us, it's also less of an issue, right? Like, if I lose a few binds at a high stake, that doesn't really get to me very easily.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Because, like, you basically don't have the problems with tilt and don't have the problems with losing focus because, you probably, because I do have some routines that help me regain focus. Like, even if I have to sit out for like 3 minutes, this 3-minute break is going to help me to be back in a state of mind where I can focus and make good decisions. I'm sure you have something similar. Maybe you don't even need a 3-minute break, but people at the lower stakes, obviously a lot of them have a problem with tilt and a lot of them have a problem with focus, and it's just shooting yourself in the foot playing the games when you're not ready for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Why are there fewer people NL16 than NL10, 25, and 50? Maybe because the buy-in amount and the stake is a bit of a funny number. Other than that, I honestly don't know. Say if you live in the US, would you be able to sign up for the CFP? Absolutely, Big Old Austin. Actually, some of our most successful students are from the US. Especially with legalization around the corner in a lot of states. Yeah, absolutely. We've had very good working experience with American students. One of them, BBI Sick, is now one of our coaches. So he moved up quite a bit. He made a lot of money last year, and he's also coaching, doing other things with us. He's the guy whose wedding I'm going to attend in 2 weeks. So yeah, absolutely, Big Old Austin. Just go to the BluffTheSpot website, and then you just fill in an application form. I sent you. I put a link in the chat. The course is for NL25 Zoom Plus players. There's no minimum stake. The course is. I try and tell you guys about advanced concepts as well as more basic ones. So the course is really for everybody. I understand that if you play NL5, that it may be outside your you may not be comfortable spending money because you need it for your bankroll. I understand that, but I think that everybody can learn a lot from it. 2020 goals. As we talked about in the beginning of the stream, Mr. Jackpot, I don't have too many concrete goals. I just trying to put in the good work and make good things happen. As in, I want to play a lot of poker, improve my game. I want to be smart about it. I want to work on BluffTheSpot. Just growing the company in general. I want to work on my health. I want to work on my friendships and all that type of stuff. Just focus on the basics of life. But I don't have too many very specific goals, as in make this much money or achieve this, right? I think that can be counterproductive.
And by the way, guys, if you missed the beginning of the show, you're going to be able to see it on YouTube. I'm going to probably upload it this weekend. So on Sunday, by Sunday, is going to be on my YouTube channel. I'm actually going to post a link in the chat so you can look it up.
Tanzania, Kilimanjaro. Yes, Blade. So one of the head coaches, Svansa, and I went to Tanzania. So we had a 5-day safari through the Serengeti, which is a famous national park there. And then we climbed the Kilimanjaro, which took 5.5 days. And of course, we had to travel towards a place and rest and whatever. And then we spent 9 days in Zanzibar, which is a tropical island, which belongs to Tanzania, right off the coast of the country. It's where Freddie Mercury was born, actually, the greatest singer in rock history. And I will not debate that with you guys. That's just my opinion. What do you mean by a good game? Yeah, one with very bad players in it. Exactly.
Right. And also, when you're, because I think this is important to mention, because we were talking about, you not being, say, somebody not being fresh, not being focused. So that game is not a good game for you. Good game for us, like for MMAshergod and myself, that's probably just, you have a fish, it's a good game, right? For a lot of you, there's more to it. You have to assess, how fresh are you? Are you going to be able to play? Do you have a position on the fish? Or, you're sitting in the worst position? It's, because a good game on paper doesn't necessarily translate to a good game in reality for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. What is the fastest one of your students moved up? I've seen some students who moved up 5-6 stakes in a year. So the thing is, it's also, are you, let's say, a reg at a certain stake if you play occasionally, or do you have to play all the time? I try not to focus on those absolutes too much. But yeah, I've seen guys go from low stakes to pretty high stakes in 1 year. But don't compare yourself to them necessarily. You have to follow your own journey. And with some people, it goes a bit faster than with others. Some people run really good, some not so much. Some people put in less volumes, others put in more. All you can do is work hard and hope that things work out very well. I mean, let's say you have a 10K bankroll and you're playing L100, maybe take an occasional shot at 200. You play the Sunday Million for fun and you win 100 grand. That's going to accelerate your poker career by a few years maybe, right? But some people, they might just run quite badly. And because of that, also play a bit less volume. And for them, it takes longer. So you can just work your butt off and hope to get a little bit lucky maybe. And for some people, it goes faster than for others. I moved up from NL50 to NL2K in 9 months. That was about 5 years ago, though. But the thing is, that was not necessarily the best approach, right? Because I was probably an underrolled, slightly underskilled player, even though I technically counted as a 2K rec. So I could have done it a bit more slowly, and it probably would have worked out a little bit better. But at the time, I was also very, very inexperienced, so I was just trying stuff out. That's why when I coach now, I tell people the mistakes I made so they can avoid those mistakes and fast track their way to the top or wherever they want to be. Now that we have you both, can you talk about PLO versus no limit cash? I would say the EV of both games is somewhat similar. Ideally, you know both. One you specialize, one you're competent at. So I don't really have an opinion of which game is a little bit better. So it might all even depend by stake. Maybe at PLO, low stakes are a bit worse because of the rake, but mid stakes are a bit better. Who knows? I think it's pretty close. You can go both ways. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially at the higher stakes, it's super close. right? And it's kind of periodic. Like there's going to be a period of time where hold'em games are the best guess games, and that applies both to online and live games. Because like you said, in Vegas, sometimes, there's going to be a year, there's going to be a summer where clearly the hold'em games are superior at the highest stakes, like Bobby's Room or whatever, the high stakes area. And there's going to be years where PLO games are just absolutely best games in town. It all depends on the recreational players, obviously. And I completely agree with you on the issue of, at the lower stakes and the mid stakes, there's probably some difference. And I'm not sure whether, Hold'em is really better than PLO at the micro stakes just because of the rake. But I do think that at the mid stakes, PLO is better than Hold'em, and by better I mean easier to make money, right? Just because of the factor of there's so much material out there, the basic material out there on the game of Hold'em, right? So a lot of people in the pool, they are pretty skilled, whereas in the PLO pools, man, there's still so many really ridiculous plays, So with the right guidance, with the right material, you can actually kind of move up through the game much quicker, I think, in PLO than you can in Hold'em nowadays. But once you reach a certain level, I mean, like you said, it's really important to know both. Specialize in one, know the other one, leave your options open, because in the end of the day, everything is about game selection, just seeking out the biggest TV for yourself.
Definitely. Pape, what's up, Pape? He's also a loyal follower of the stream. What do you think is the best way to study your high stakes course? Take your time, watch every video probably a few times, and take notes. And then use those notes while you're studying, and also use them before your session as preparation, right? So the things you didn't know, the things that are not standard in your game yet, you have to constantly repeat them. So write them down and repeat them. Okay, and focus on certain things before a session. If you just found something out before the session, think, okay, I'm going to try and implement what I learned into my game. So you have to proactively change your game rather than just play and see what happens. So, but yeah, take your time, watch every video probably a few times, and take notes, and then use those notes. 3 IO Ru, whatever your name is, I know you're also in here, so thanks for joining. Now that we have you both, okay, sorry, that's already been discussed. ShowOfForce was part of the CFP as well. Yes, ShowOfForce is one of my first students, and he moved from NL100 up to high stakes. He was playing 25-50 and 50-100 every single day, even playing Bobby's Room and what's that other one in Ivy's Room when it still existed. So yeah, he went from like low stakes up to nosebleeds quite quickly. Yeah, he was one of the first students, and you already saw by his preparation that he was going to make it, because he always came prepared. He had his whole list of questions, and he wanted all of them answered. And he wouldn't go away until I did. And he was always sending me hands and asking me for advice and adding people on Skype to talk with them and watching our videos. He was using every single tool available to become a better player. And I also have students who never ask me a question. Cancel 3/4 of their coaching sessions, never talk to any students or never do anything, and usually they're less successful. So using every tool within the program will make you more successful, and that's what ShowOfForce did. And that's also what a guy like PartyPoker did, who did the same thing. He moved from low to higher stakes. A guy like Tax here, a guy like Maku, a guy like Jimmy DeRay, like a bunch of them. They all started at low stakes and they went up to mid stakes, and some of them even high stakes and nosebleeds. But they all had the same approach of being very active in the community, working really hard and working really smart, rather than sometimes just showing up for a coaching session, being half asleep while doing your taxes. Then you're not going to achieve that much. Do you think 2.2 is a better preflop sizing even at lower stakes? Yes, but you should always be looking at the table and should always be adjusting. And if at a certain table you have some ridiculous action going on, you might want to change your strategy. When I play, I always have 4 good opponents and 1 recreational player, so there's only one reason to change my game, right? Whereas if you're at a table with only recreational players, you might have to do some ridiculous stuff. MMA, I saw the Queen Jack and you got some balls. Thank you. Sometimes I show them, sometimes I don't.
All right, where can I see the hand? I'm curious now. I want to see the hand. Is it on the channel or something?
It was basically human open raises the small blind. I call with Queen Jack offsuit. The flop was 9-7-4, I believe. He c-bets, I raise, he calls. Turn was an 8, right? I bet the river. I bet the turn. He calls. River was a blank, and I shove for I think about 100 big blinds, and he calls me with top set. So it was like a spewy, questionable bluff.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And sometimes, it's not something you want to do too often. But in this scenario, I thought it was the right play. Obviously, it's a very high variance play, and at that time I got burned, but I don't really regret it. I have bluffs that got through that I really regret because I thought it was a very poor play.
Okay.
This is the type of play that if you make these plays all the time, you're just being way too aggressive, and villains can way overcall you on the river, and just win the pot far too often. So, but at the same time, I think this line made sense when I played it.
I just want to point out how important it is, because I love what you're saying about there were some bluffs that went through, and you don't love the play. It's so important because I feel like, especially, people starting out in poker, for some, bluffing is just such a thrill that they just overdo it so easily and they just love their plays. Whenever it works, they think they're just the best and it's amazing and they just keep doing it. You always have to be rational about your plays, evaluate them, based on some process, So I love what you're saying, that basically, it's not about what went through, and in this case, a huge bluff didn't work, but you love it. That's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I didn't say I loved it, but yeah, I would make this play again sometimes. So yeah, what do you think about Runchuks making YouTube ads?
Oh shit! Oh man.
Are you? I don't know.
Of course I'm not. I mean, YouTube adds money. Yeah. No, I don't know. Well, Punny Ball, whatever. I have a YouTube channel, and so does BluffTheSpot, and it's for you guys to see our material there for all of you to, because basically my channel is mostly about PLO. We're basically about PLO and the podcasts, and some of the stuff ends up on the BluffTheSpot YouTube channel. We're just spreading around, and I wish I made any money from ads. I don't. And even if I did, I probably would give it away somehow. I don't know.
I think that once you have a certain amount of subscribers or views, you can become a monetized partner.
Yeah, but I mean, man, you know what? Because YouTube thing, because you're not doing it yourself, right? And at first when I started, I thought, well, it's a good idea. I want to, because at first I was playing on stream, making some, basically live playing PLO on stream, and I didn't like the quality because it's I have to talk, I have to check the chat, and I'm trying to make some plays, and it's just not a very educational material. So I thought, well, you know what, I'm gonna just record some videos, put them on YouTube, and I wanna put these podcasts on YouTube, but it's so much work. It's so much fucking work. So even if I was making because I don't even know how many subscribers you need, hundreds of thousands probably to start making $2K a month or something. Those $2K a month still are not worth it for me for the amount of work it takes. So, I hope you guys appreciate the channel because, you know what, I'm only doing it because it's sort of growing and I see that people love the material. So I thought, well, okay, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. But it's hard work.
No, for sure. I mean, especially in the beginning, you have to put in a lot of hours, and in terms of money, you definitely don't get much back. So you have to mostly do it because you like it. Eventually, you can start making more money with it, I assume, but in the beginning, you don't. Same as with a company, right? You have to first do all the dirty work and wait for a while until you start seeing profits.
Yeah. But to be honest, on the YouTube game, I don't even think you can make money with poker material, because to make money on YouTube, you have to have a huge amount of subscribers and views and likes, etc., etc. But anyway, that's not my goal, and that's not the goal of BluffTheSpot.
You can probably make a decent amount of money if you monetize everything, have some good if you have a lot of subscribers, but that's probably very, it's difficult to do. Yeah, it would be a full-time thing, right? You
Oh
cannot
yeah,
just do
yeah,
that part-time. And
sure.
for me, like, I've had people ask like, well, do you want to vlog and do all that type of stuff? I don't have time for that. First off, I would don't want to do that because that doesn't sound fun, but I enjoy what I do right now. I enjoy streaming and interacting, but I don't want to become like some kind of, F-level poker celebrity or something
Right,
like that.
right.
That is not my goal at all. So let's see. Any more questions, guys?
Oh, there's a bunch. There's a
Thoughts on
bunch.
Elvis Presley? I've never really listened much to Elvis, so not really. I don't really have an opinion on him. How do you learn with Pio? How do you plan the scenario on the board? Well, I can't just tell you in 3 sentences, Zig, but I devoted an entire video, which I think is like almost an hour and a half long, in the high stakes course. So check that out if you like.
Listen, MMA, I want to ask you a question about that course, actually. I think now is a good time because I've been talking about how much work the YouTube channel is, right? Because just making the videos, making all the, and obviously I have people who help me, but making this course, that's so much work. Can you
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
us
yeah.
through a bit about the process and how you approach it and like how does it happen? Like how does it go from basically nothing into like a complete finished product?
I did a rough count and I spent over 200 hours on it, and that's not counting now when I sometimes have to answer like some private messages or just talk about it with partners or something like that. I started from absolutely nothing. Every single word you see of that content is written by me. So I would suspect that some people who've done a course, somebody just sets up the material and they just narrate it and put their face on it. And that's fine if you want to do that. But every single sim I ran, every single word that was written, everything was done by me. The layout was not done by me because, as you guys know, I am an idiot when it comes to technology. So, everything that looks pretty, that was not done by me. But like writing the content, running sims, recording everything, editing the content, everything I had to do. And yeah, 200 hours it cost me. It was also extremely stressful for sure. So I was pretty close to having a nervous breakdown, to be honest. It was, yeah, it was not something I'll easily do again. So, but I mean, it's a good project. The thing is, it's way more stressful for me than playing poker. Recording some videos is a bit easier. So, for instance, a live play video. I mean, just imagine that. I have to play like a long session. It has to have interesting hands. At the same time, I don't want to have a session where I just like win every pot and try and brag. So I have to find good footage. Then I have to record it a few times. But I just have to talk about hands, right? And once I stutter, I start over. So those types of videos, they don't take as much effort, and they're also not as stressful. But especially theory video, I also like had to write down a whole script of like, here you have to like mention this, but at the same time you have to sound natural and not come off as a robot. So writing a whole script, setting up a whole content page of like, then you open this pile sim, then this sim, then you go back to the presentation. Just like the finished product is, I think, around 10, 11 hours. But if you look at everything that went into it, all the little changes that you don't see, it really took an insane amount of work. Really did it put in. I did. It was really difficult. So if I play for a few hours, I don't really care. Yeah, I can play long sessions. That doesn't really do much to me. But this was very difficult, especially like how to work with PIOsolver and all the like more theoretical stuff. I don't know how some of those Run It Once guys set up those videos because they've put in less work, but it's like still a similar amount of work roughly. And yeah, I don't know how they do it. So one of those videos, if they put out really good content, they must be working on one video for over 10 hours. If you were to record a live session and you just narrate it, maybe you just do two of them and you submit the best one. So it's not that much effort. And you're still making a bit of money at the same time. But those, especially the theoretical videos, they're very, very, very difficult. You also have to think about which type of content. You don't want to make it too easy, but you don't want to make it too advanced, and then people don't get it, right? So you also have to like break down how you're going to explain it. So yeah, all in all, is a very difficult project, but
Yeah.
I'm happy I finished it. So I was surprised about how good the feedback was. I was expecting good feedback because I put in a lot of great work, but you always expect a couple of people to troll around or just genuinely dislike it. But I've generally not had one single bad comment. So maybe some people disliked it. They haven't told me, but everybody who's reached out to me has said like, yeah, it was fantastic. So I appreciate the good feedback, guys.
Oh, that's awesome. And man, it's so impressive that, because like I assume while making this, you still kept playing, right? Because you're basically always playing.
Yeah, for like a few months, I would just wake up, play. I don't have anything to do. At the same time, recording and writing. I don't have lunch at all. Play. I eat dinner for 20 minutes. Play, record, go to bed. And that for months, basically.
Wow.
I mean, I did not
crazy.
spend months on that, but yeah, as I said, I work too hard. Because I don't have time for anything else. So one of my goals is also to take it easier. A few years ago, one of my goals goals in life was to spend more money, right? Like who has a goal of spending more money? People want to spend less money, right? But I was basically paying my rent, which was like 400 euros at the time, and I was spending 700 euros a month every month because I would just buy food and a gym membership. That's it. And I was telling myself I have to slow down a little bit and also smell the roses sometimes, right? Maybe go on vacation or go have like a nicer dinner, or like, I'm not a guy who cares much about money anyway, but at least have to give myself like a little bit more, I have to be a little bit more lenient. So I that's one of the things I've been working on actually. So, and now one of my goals is actually to not wreck myself, because I don't have to do that. Right. So, but yeah, that's kind of the way I operate. I'm generally not interested in something, but when I am, I tend to get obsessed. But I'm not one of those people that follows you around on the street and has your hair collected in a jar at my home, by the way. So you don't have to be afraid.
Right. Yeah, man, that's so impressive. I find it so impressive. Like just thinking about you making this work, it's incredible, because like the closest I can get in relating to this is just, when I'm trying to put out like one video a week every week, and some weeks like 2 videos on YouTube. And again, it's like obviously, it's like 5 hours, 7 hours per video, and they're not that long if we're talking about the videos that are apart from just the podcast. But I couldn't imagine combining making this with like a regular schedule of like, you play in the morning, you make a video, you keep playing, you keep making the video. It's insane. So, congratulations on doing it and not burning out. And like you said, I heard really good stuff as well about your course, even though I'm not even in the Hold'em sphere, but still people were telling me that, hey, that's awesome. So yeah, and another thing is that I found super impressive that you did it all yourself. And as you said, there's so many courses out there where basically there's like 20 people working behind the scenes, writing the content, and then somebody just puts their face on that.
I would like to give credit, obviously, to the people who helped me, right? So when I'm talking about like content of the course, writing it, recording it, all that type of stuff, I did all of that. But somebody obviously edited out my stumbles. They marketed it, they improved the website, all that type of stuff. I did not do that. So
yeah, of course,
obviously I'm giving credit to them. But when it comes to the actual product, of improving the quality of the product, that I all did myself.
Yeah, and that's so crazy, because usually people go the other way around. I mean, still everybody has somebody working behind the scenes on the design and editing, etc., because obviously it would be insane if you also did that part yourself, because that course would never show up. It's so many hours. But that you did the content yourself, and also let's not forget, you're one of the top players in the world, and you're making this. I find it so impressive, because like, the way I see a lot of other people who are making courses or getting into the coaching game, they sort of get into it when they're on the decline of their career. You're sort of one of a very few people who actually do it the other way around, so that content is so up to date, and it's really the best thing out there.
Yeah, thank you. So no. When I started BluffTheSpot, I told myself I want to really improve everybody, but I'm a poker player who also does coaching. I'm not a coach who cannot beat the games anymore and just started or something like that. Because the thing is, if I don't play at a high level, I cannot compete at a high level, and I have nothing to teach people anymore, right? So I have to stay ahead of the game. So that's why I spend most of my time playing poker, and then I also spend quite a bit of time working on BluffTheSpot.
Right. Anyway, let's catch up with the chat again. Where were we? Do you remember?
Let's see. Roughly, I do.
Yeah, the Elvis thing
Um,
was there, and then learning about
Here.
Pio. All right.
Will you upload podcasts on Spotify? Right now, I'm pretty sure we do not.
Yeah, we don't at the moment. Well, at some point I thought we might, but again, it's a lot of work. Maybe down the line. Like right now, we have. I think this is the 9th episode that we're doing, so we have like 9 episodes that we could potentially upload and then do it on a regular basis. But again, because the thing is, there's a lot of editing involved for the audio, right? Because you need to cut out like the video with the chat, people interacting. I can basically just put the whole thing on YouTube and it's fine. But for audio podcast to be there, you need to somebody needs to spend quite a lot of time editing, mastering the sound, etc., etc. And at this point, we're not doing it, but maybe.
Sure. I mean, guys, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have a YouTube page. We have the community within BluffTheSpot and our private forums. We're already on so many different channels, right? At a certain point, it makes more sense to really optimize our YouTube channel to try and grow it rather than just find 5 other ways. I mean, we can be on LinkedIn and Twitter and all those things as well, but it's better to build up a few things rather than just be mediocre at everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why if you check out the BluffTheSpot YouTube page, we've really improved there lately. So please subscribe if you like. Just like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes 1 click. So yeah, please. The more you support us like that, the more we can put out good content. Obviously, let me link it to you guys. So please, everybody, just click the subscribe. That would be nice. Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, put the link to that, and I'm gonna put the link to my channel as well.
Sure.
And like we previously discussed, I'm trying to make ad money here with the YouTube channel.
Yeah, that was a joke, guys.
Yeah. So anyway, subscribe because it actually does help us, in a way, because of how the YouTube algorithm works, basically. If people like our content, then it's more visible. And obviously, because for myself, as I said, for me, the motivation to keep making these videos is that when I get the feedback from the people, that's the only reason I do it. And the feedback doesn't even have to be all positive. If somebody has an opinion of how I can improve the content, I'm game. Just tell me, But I want this interaction. Sure. I want people to tell us, what's going on, and either like it or dislike it, but do subscribe. That helps to keep at least my motivation up for keep producing these for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, I mean, we used to have a smaller YouTube channel, but now we've got people working on it full time, so it's really helped. I mean, yeah, let me see. So we uploaded a video 1 week ago in which I reviewed Linus's biggest hands in poker online, and it already has 21K views after a week. So that's really good. So thank you, guys. Yeah. Maybe it was one person watching it 20,000 times. I don't know. Either way,
whoever that I think you can only watch 3 times and then it counts. But maximum 3 views per unit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a lot of views. That's impressive. Well
done.
So
me refreshing a million times didn't work.
Didn't work. No. So maybe that only accounted for 21 views, and that's it.
Shit. Could have done so many other things with my day.
Oh yeah, man.
Let's see. How can I build a study program to PIOSims? You have to be a bit more specific, Zigdon. Mm-hmm. Why are you not playing the millions live high rollers? Because I don't want to travel live too much, so only for the good trips. Also, right now I'm busy, so I've been playing super hard. Now I'm doing some personal stuff, and then I want to go take a little bit of time off for once. So I don't have time right now. I know that one of my friends is there right now. Also, not all tournaments for me are tax free, and I don't enjoy tournaments anyway. So yeah, I don't really like it too much. Thank you for subscribing, Coffee Attack. 7 months. It's a good name. Even though I don't drink coffee, I still like the name. Happy New Year, bro.
Yeah, in 7 months. Yeah, impressive. Thanks, man.
Let's see. I studied accounting and finance and now doing some really good degree like a master. And I have a salary of 1K, and in 2 years I will be getting 1.6K per month. Do you think it's worth to go all in poker? Well, it depends on what level you're at in poker right now, right? Also how old you are, etc., how much money you have. So it's really difficult to answer that question with just that little bit of information. But you can just start being a semi-pro and eventually move towards being a full-time pro. Yeah. So again, you don't have to be not playing poker or be a pro. You can be something in between until you figure it out. Excuse me. That's also what I did.
Exactly. I think it's very good advice. Start small. Start by doing it part-time, doing it in your free time. Because one important thing you have to evaluate, how much do you actually like it? How much do you like the process? Because, everybody loves winning, especially in the beginning. You get these emotional swings. You're winning, you're feeling great. You're losing, you're not feeling so good. But how do you like the process of basically the grind? Just showing up every day and playing. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. Just keep playing. Because that's what stops some people, And if you have a stable job, etc., that doesn't mean anything. Like, just pursue your passion. If you're passionate about poker, if you think that's something you love to do, then pursue it. And yeah, maybe go all in, but dip your finger first. Try it a bit.
That's what she said.
Okay, kind of walked into this, yeah.
That's again what she said.
Yeah.
That was too easy.
Too easy.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, that's all. That's again what she said. All right, enough with the shitty jokes. All right, that's a question for you, Runchuks, by the Dunker. What is the best learning opportunity for PLO without any expensive courses?
So the best learning opportunity without any expensive courses. Well, there's, I suppose, run it once, whatever it costs, it's not too expensive, right? They have a decent amount of good videos. My opinion on videos is they only can get you so far. The best learning opportunity is, if you really want to be just, studying for free, just find a group of people. Join some group, join some study group, seek out other like-minded guys. The best way, clearly, is signing up with us, because you're signing up for CFP. You don't have to pay any money in advance. You just get great coaching, great material, and that's going to be the best bet. But in general, just, seek out, like, if you really want to just start real cheap, just seek out a group of people where you can study together, talk hands together, discuss ideas together. That's probably it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Play for Fun asks, Redline, it's important at micro stakes. Well, it's important at any stake, play for fun. The game changes a bit because you're going to be multi-way far more often, also because of the rake and the dynamics, things change a bit. But yeah, losing massively on Redline is still not a good thing. Winning massively, I guess in itself is not a bad thing, but it probably means that you're losing elsewhere, right? In the end, what matters is the green line. What do you think about adjustments versus maniacs? Let's say a guy to your left 3-bets you 50% of the time. Just play kind of snug out of position to him. So when he only flat calls, he's probably very weak, so you attack him, right? And also you have to 4-bet him very aggressively. So if, let's say, cutoff versus MP, he 3-bets you a lot, you have 10s, you can just 4-bet, right? And if he shoves, you're still definitely calling. Normally you would not call, but normally he also doesn't 3-bet 50%. Let's say a more reasonable amount would be like 20, out of line, but not like insane. So yeah, you just have to loosen up. So you have to be a bit tighter when opening, and you have to attack him when he puts in a lot of money with bad hands. But you have to attack him as well, right? You cannot just be scared of him. Then you kind of let him get away with stuff. If there was one poker player you'd like to fight, who would it be? I have some guys I don't like in poker, but I'm not a bully. I don't want to fight anybody who looks like he cannot fight, right? Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Bryn Kenny get beat up. At the same time, Bryn Kenny's like almost 40 years old, and he's probably not the most stellar athlete, so I would never call him out for a fight. I don't know. I'm not interested in fighting anybody, to be honest. I've seen Phil in live poker take off his shirt and challenge Bit Too Easy to a fight. That was kind of hilarious. But yeah, had he challenged me right there, I would have said, just sit down, kid, and just play poker. It was funny also because Phil was maybe like, I don't know, like 135 pounds. A Bit Too Easy was more like 225 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. Runchuks, do you ever play Zoom 500 PLO, or is it not worth it for you?
I think the last time I played on a regular basis Zoom 500 must be like, I don't know, like 9 months ago, maybe half a year ago, more than half a year ago. So yeah, it's kind of not worth it for me. I do play occasionally just to record a video. so you can find those on YouTube, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for subscribing to Twitch Prime Surfing Luke. Let's see. All right, Coffee Attack likes your video.
Oh man, that's awesome. He's liking every video. That's
even better.
That's great. Like that's what I like to see. That's amazing. Thanks, man.
We need more coffee attacks.
Oh yeah.
Maybe now I'll have to try a cup of coffee after all to honor our guest.
Oh, I mean, I'm full on coffee attack the whole day. Like today, it's
really?
the fourth cup. Yeah, I love coffee. Start my day with the coffee. The last time, actually, it's a funny story. The only time, well, maybe not the only time, but the last time I remember that I started the day before I had coffee was there was a game on ACR. So I switch on the ACR. The coffee was still brewing. I didn't have it. And I see this super awesome lineup. Like, literally everybody's unknown. 5K game. So I jump in, immediately get dealt on the big blind. And I got only 2 cards. I was like, what the fuck? So I joined the Hold'em game. Ah, man. So that's what happens when I start my day without coffee.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely the opposite because I've never had a coffee in my entire life.
Oh, wow. Imagine what you could achieve if you had some, because your work ethic is insane. Like, you would be, making those, courses, like 3 of them a year.
3 of them a year. Yeah, but then I would probably go crazy. I'm glad
probably you would.
All right. MMA, sitting on 5K on ACR right now. You're losing EV. I'm not playing today. Get a grip. I'm gonna be as soon as we finish here, I'm gonna go upstairs to cuddle my dogs and get some other stuff done. But I'm not gonna be playing today. So too bad. Get a grip. We'll play sometime soon. Question for MMA: how is Limitless so good? Well, why is any player at high stakes good? They work hard, they work smart, and they have a little bit of luck. What's your view on recent 2019 earners posted on January high stakes threads? And that the top earner Limitless made less than 1 million. I mean, it also depends per year, right? So last year there were just way more big games going on, but also you're not counting other sites, right? Because I know Limitless plays those 25Ks on GG every single day. He plays more 25Ks a day than Runchuks drinks coffee.
Yeah.
So he buys it for 200K every single day. He might be down millions. He might be up millions. So, yeah, but the games this year were way worse than last year. So I remember last year I had a really good year, and I think I was the biggest winner. I could be second or third. So I know Big Blind Bets won a lot. I won a lot, and LLinusLLove won a lot. And we all won, I'm pretty sure, over 1 million. But this year, nobody did. The games were just much smaller. They were not around as frequently. But at the same time, those results are not accurate, and also they don't count other sites, right?
Yeah, exactly. I haven't even checked. Like, I haven't checked the thread or anything, because actually I just got my internet installed very recently because I moved to a new place and I had some technical difficulties. So I was like on a retreat. With media silence, didn't see anything. So I don't even know. Like, about PLO, I don't even know who made the most, or at least from the people who posted. Actually, on my 2+2 thread today, somebody asked me if I'm going to post my results. I don't know. I wasn't planning. I might.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's up to you. I will be posting mine this week, as I always do.
Yeah, but you always do. I never did, and I don't know. I'll think about it. I just don't see the upside, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't shown them, like the things I've been showing my results for like 3-4 years now. So, sometimes I have a good day, sometimes I have bad days. That's part of it. The thing is, why is Limitless the biggest winner? Remember that Limitless played like 10,000 hands plus heads up 20K, right? He was the only guy doing that. So he has way more room for big earnings potentially. Because he was playing against Button Clicker and those guys heads up for thousands and thousands of hands at now 20K. So his average stake is way higher than for, somebody mentioned Ospiel. Ospiel's average stake is maybe like NL3K. Limitless's average stake is like NL13K, right? So obviously Limitless has way more room for winning big or losing big. But I would not look too much at like short-term results. OTB is by far the best player in poker in No Limit Hold'em. I mean, it's not even close. OTB is so much better than everyone else. It's not even funny. And he was on the losers list. Right. The thing is, I don't just look at that sample. I just look at how he plays. There's guys who win big who I don't think are good at all. There's guys who are not on the big winners list who I think are very good, or people who play lower stakes who are very good but don't want to play high stakes. So the best way of gauging somebody's skill level is still by playing a lot against them. And yes, you're human. Some guy, you'll always have some kind of opinion on them that's not entirely correct. Against some guys you run really good. Against some guys you run really bad. Against OTB I run really bad as well. But I know OTB is the best no-hold'em player there's ever been. I'm not afraid to admit that. Right? At the same time, he lost probably 6 figures last year, at least on Pokerstars. Right? Maybe he won in tournaments. Maybe he won on other sites. So who knows? I just know he's a great player. 15 minutes of sucking MMA's dick. That's a long time. 15 minutes? Jeez. Guys, what is the best part of a blowjob? Do you know, Runchuks?
Well, I suppose you're gonna tell me now.
Yeah, it's the 10 minutes of silence.
That's beautiful.
By the way, I stole that line. That is not my line. Okay. There is a movie from the early 2000s. It's called Replicate, and one of the guys said that, and I never forgot.
All right.
So I was probably like 10 when I watched that.
That's why you never forgot. That changed your life.
I know.
Oh, wow.
Any strategy tips for the rat hole tables? Learn how to play against short stack. That's basically it. I learned short stacking first on that side. I was really bad always at short stacking. I hated those guys. I always flamed them in the chat. And it was kind of my fault, right? Because I just didn't know how to play against them. But then I had to learn. And I did. Let's see. A lot of links. NLZ now refusing to play. 100LLeeQ, 100 BBs deep. The Reg's starting to fear this guy. I mean, he just prefers playing 40 big blinds in general, Smurf. What is your opinion on Sin Karma? Wow, I haven't had that question in a while. I haven't been in touch with him lately. I mean, I haven't played against him in years now, in like 2 years. But he's a good player. How much did I make in 2019? You're going to see my graph this week, Sesh, Jonathan. It's going to be around 80K, which obviously it's way less than I made last year, and it was disappointing results-wise, but I put in a lot of work and I ran really badly. So, I was actually, the last 2 months have been kind of good. I've been grinding a lot. But yeah, it was worse than last year. But I know that I still have a good edge on the game. So, last year, to be fair, I won too much, right? Last year I was up 1.3 million. My EV was not 1.3 million. It was lower. It was maybe like 750K. So that's still a lot, but way less than 1.3. So maybe this year it was like lower, like 500 or 550. And I ran quite badly. And maybe this year I crush it again. Maybe not. That's why you have to accept that high stakes poker. That's why I say don't look at small samples, guys, because some guys over small samples run really hot and some guys run really cold. Over my career, I've run quite cold. Last year I ran quite cold. The year before I ran really hot. The year before that I ran really cold. And the year before that I ran quite cold the second year, and then I ran hot again in 2015. So yeah, there's a lot of variance in high stakes poker. So just have to play well, game select well, play a lot, etc., and that's all you can do. It's just easy to play, not have a good approach, but say you do, right? So you have to constantly check and see if you're actually doing a good job. Biggest downswing. In terms of binds, I've had a 60 bind downswing before, but that was I had a 40 bind downswing. Also last year, but this year as well. So 40 binds is already a decent amount. What about you, Runchuks? You play PLO, so you probably have like PLO. a 1 million bind downswing.
No, I had... I don't even remember what was the biggest. I think like around 150 binds under EV.
Wow, that's sick.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, my worst one... worst one was about 150. I remember there was one which was actually... I was super proud about it, because after that one I sort of didn't have problems with running bad anymore, because I was like, I want to say 120 binds under EV while still winning.
Yeah. So the thing is,
that was pretty funny. Yeah. Well, just obviously that's not like a downswing because I'm still winning, but in EV, that was pretty sick for me.
Yeah. The thing is, guys, graphs don't tell the whole story. So if I look at my graph from the last year, in terms of EV, I didn't really run under EV too much, maybe like 20K only. But like every time the pot was huge, I just had a really good hand and my opponent had a better hand, right? So if you see you always get in like with kings preflop, but your opponent has aces, yeah, you put it in with 20%, which is really bad. But your play was probably good because against his range, you're doing great. But you know those times when you just run into aces preflop every single time, and sometimes you have aces and they put it in badly every single time, right? I was just on the receiving end of a ton of coolers. I remember this hand against Limos. It was like a 30K pot. The board is like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, right? With a straight on the board. He 3-bets me under the gun versus big blind. And I have a 9. And I still don't win because he has 10-9, right?
Oh,
it's just one of those where like he has like basically no 9s and he has almost no 10-9s. And I don't have many 9s or 10-9s. But somehow I ended up with one and he had an even better one. And then I play my highest stake while deep stacked. And if you just have a bunch of those, but then you get those yourself at 2K, right? Then you can just easily lose a ton of money. Or you have I remember against Scarface, I flopped top full house at 10K deep stacked. We get it in, he flopped quads. But you don't see that on a graph, right? If you get it in and you suck out a lot, that's what you see on the graph.
Oh, yeah.
So again, guys, take graphs over small samples with a grain of salt. If you see somebody plays great, he plays very tough against you every single day, you should give him credit as a good player. Even though short term he may not be winning as much or he's winning like a ridiculous amount.
Right. That's a great advice. And especially another aspect about graphs, and I talked about it in my 2+2 thread. It makes you sort of put a time frame on your results. Every hand should be just a unique hand. It doesn't matter what happened before. It really doesn't matter. That money is either gone or it doesn't matter at all. Like every decision should be just a standalone decision, right? And what happens with people who check the graph too much is that they get the sense of, I'm running good, running bad over a period of week, over a period of like 2 days, of a month. It doesn't matter. Just fucking zoom out for 3 years and see your graph then it's probably going to be pretty much where it should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, it's such an important point, the one that you mentioned about, all the things that don't show up in the graph. And graphs can be so misleading because of that. It's important to evaluate your play based on the process of your thinking, of your decisions, right? Coming back to what you were saying about those bluffs, when we were previously discussing, your queen jack bluff, evaluate the play on the merit of the play, not on the results themselves, right?
Absolutely. Zigdon asks, how can I build a study program for PIO? Again, Zigdon, you have to check out the course video. What you can do is just study different spots and categorize them and just like record a bunch of findings, like a bunch of patterns you see, and write them down in like a knowledge file. But again, if you want to know more about that, you have to check out the video. But that's a good start. Just categorizing all of your knowledge and your sims. MMA, what is your view on the high stakes action for 2020? Well, in the last 2 months, it's been really good. And in the first few days, it has been good. So if it continues to be like this, it could be a fantastic year. But maybe the games dry up all of a sudden. So it's really hit or miss, right? So who knows? I'm hoping for the best, but there's no way of knowing. Is OTB better than Linus? Well, it's difficult to say because neither really plays much anymore. Linus has been playing in the last few days, but the last time I played Linus seriously was like 3 years ago, right? I mean, he shows up from time to time, but he had I remember just playing Linus every single day, him being one of my most common opponents. That was years ago. Same with OTB. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. But when I play against him still, I think OTB is definitely the most knowledgeable player of the game and most, in my opinion, the best. Although for a time when OTB was gone and Linus was just like playing all day, every day, I think Linus was the best. Either way, I don't like having anybody at either one of them at my table. So Linus has been back in the last few days. I honestly haven't really played against him. Maybe like a few hands maximum, but yeah, I don't know how good he is at right now. Maybe he's been studying and he's back with a vengeance. Maybe he's just like playing a bit for fun. I don't know. Either way, he's a good player. Linus sits out versus OTB. Sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he believes he's worse than OTB heads up. People, the heads up community believe that Linus is the best at heads up. I was talking about 6 max. So I've asked some guys who are top 10 at 6 in heads up, no limit, and they say that Linus is the best. But those guys haven't really played OTB, who's also very tough. But OTB is more of a 3, 4, 5, 6 max player. Will this podcast be on YouTube? Yes, it will, right, Runchuks? On yours as well as ours?
I think on mine and on BluffTheSpot, we're usually just posting the highlights, because that kind of makes sense, because mostly the videos on the BluffTheSpot channel, we keep them shorter and to the point, whereas on mine I can do whatever I want, so I'm just going to put the whole thing. So if you just tuned in, you can catch up. And I'm actually just going to post the link again in case you missed it.
Alec Ballspot asks, OTB is number 1, supposedly. Linus is number 2, supposedly. Who's third? I wouldn't tell you if I knew the answer, and I really don't, Alec. If you look at the top 10, 15 guys, everybody's super close. On a good day, and everyone can beat each other. It's very close. What is my opinion of Trueteller
at PLO? Do you have an opinion about him in PLO?
I don't have an opinion on PLO in general. I'm not qualified to give a PLO opinion.
All right, so let me give my small opinion on PLO. Because you know what? Honestly, I don't even know. I mean, obviously, he's a very good player. I don't see him play online that much, because he's obviously focusing mostly on the mixed games, the ones that he plays in Vegas and elsewhere. Clearly a very good player, mostly sits and plays heads up when he's online. Haven't seen him in too much 6-max action, so I don't really have an opinion beyond the fact that he's obviously very good and very dedicated to the game and like completely obsessed with it, to be honest. But
sure. He was the second biggest winner last year. The thing is, I mean, have you seen him play Very Sweet Heads Up before? He played. He played Very Sweet for quite a long time. They were playing 40K game. Was quite impressive, and then they switched to mixed games as well. And I mean, do you have any opinion on that? Any juicy details? Because to me, it seems like Trueteller is very, very clearly minus EV in this game. Or maybe there's just something I don't know. Yeah, I believe he should be minus EV because Very Sweet is just a beast, you know, and heads up PLO, he's incredible. But I don't know all the details, you know, because the thing is with Trueteller is obviously a super smart guy. I mean, he has a huge ego, so sometimes he would go for those things like which are clearly minus EV, but he still does it just to prove a point. But considering that they eventually started playing mixed games, I don't know, maybe he had some plan, or maybe they had some deal of, you know, we play X amount of hands, heads up PLO, and then we switch to mixed games, X amount of hands. I don't know behind the scenes, so it's hard to judge. Yeah. I mean, I know Trueteller from time to time jumps into No Limit like once or twice a year, so he probably does it in PLO as well. When he plays No Limit, he's obviously the spot in the game. But at the same time, do I like playing him? Absolutely not, right? Yeah, like, do I think I'm beating him? Yes, very clearly. But at the same time, do I want to play him? No. Would I play him heads up? No. And it's also the issue of, you know, because if we think about it, like a 40K game, for him, it's not even a big game. Like when he's playing live, he's playing way bigger than that. So, you know, he maybe just jumps in for practice purposes. Yeah, you know, maybe he just jumps in against Very Sweet. He doesn't care to drop a few 100,000 because, you know, if he learns something along the way, you know, maybe that's useful for him in the games that he's playing because they are so much bigger. OTB. Trueteller is a very rich guy. I don't think you have to feel sorry for him anytime soon, guys. No. Thing is, with high stakes, you only get to play like 100K hands, which is so small, so variance is huge. Yeah, exactly. I mean, a bit more than 100K if you really push it, Smurf. But yeah, the sample's not huge. I mean, I've said this like a million times before, but I'm going to say it again. When I first moved to NL500 like 5 years ago, I played my first 350K hands as like an under-rolled and slightly under-skilled reg, probably being like, you know, an up to 1.5 big blind winner. I could have even been minus half a big blind. But either way, I was not a great reg. And over 350K hands in a nitty game, I won 13.5 big blinds per 100. 13.5. That's insane. Then after that 350K stretch, I was like a solid regular, maybe slightly above average even. And for 250K hands, I broke even. So that's a 600K hand sample 5 years ago in a nitty mid-stakes game with no ante, right? And in 600K hands, my results were all over the place when everybody was playing 22 VPIP. So imagine now playing 100K hands at modern day high stakes, right? The variance is really difficult to handle. So yeah, there's guys who've been running hot for a while, and they're trash, to be honest. They are losing EV. They're over 500K in EV in a year. But there's also guys that you don't really hear about that are fantastic. So again, guys, don't judge somebody just based on a sample. Let's see. Limitless rode on 2+2 November. He's down almost 3 million in those 25Ks. Yeah, that's rough. I believe he was up on that sample. He was up like 600K on stars. Limitless doesn't really play on other sites other than GG and Pokerstars, so that may be somewhat accurate. So that's still ugly. Who knows? Maybe he's selling action. Maybe he's got some deals going on. But yeah, I mean, so you see right here on one side he's the biggest winner, and on the other side he's the biggest loser. Even though you would not say, well, Limitless is the world's best Pokerstars player, but the world's worst GG player, right? No. So you see how even for a guy like him, Variance is crazy. What do you think about Kanu? He started making videos for Upswing. Yeah, it's a bit strange because he retired, and I know he started working on a company. I don't know if that's public, so I'm not going to say which one. And all of a sudden now he's making videos, but he's not playing. So, I mean, Kanu was always a very good player. He's probably a little bit out of the loop right now, but he's still a tough player. And he's a nice guy. So I haven't seen any of the videos, but I expect them to be, I don't expect them to be bad videos. So I haven't seen the course. Is that course even out? Do you know, Runchuks, if that course is out?
No, I don't know, but I think it might be already out because he signed like a couple months ago, I think. But yeah, I don't know.
It's probably like his way of like cashing out of poker, right? Like he's probably like, okay, make some extra money. I'm not giving away information because I'm out anyway. So I mean, I understand. I haven't seen it, but most likely the content will be solid because I like him as a person. I think he's an organized, honest person. But at the same time, do we think our course is better since we play daily and put even more work into it? Yes, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna lie and say, hey, I think everybody's content sucks except for ours. That would not be fair. Let's see. Would that be considered a disappointing year, 80K? Results-wise, absolutely, coffee attack, because I said my EV is probably around 500K, so winning only 80 is definitely disappointing. At the same time, I ran roughly 500K over EV last year, so if I now lose 420, then it kind of evens out, right? So in the end, I cannot complain. I mean, these are our first world problems, right? Don't feel bad for me. Let's see, some more questions. What do you think about the Educa course? I've never seen the Educa course. The criticism I heard is that he was very difficult to understand and the content was a bit too simple and chaotic. But I'm not saying that. I know Educa to be a nice guy as well and a good player. But again, he's somebody who hasn't played poker in 4 or 5 years. So, that does hurt your content a little bit. At the same time, he should not be showing you end boss secrets at high stakes from when he played, because if you play NL 100s right now, that's not too relevant, right? So I also focus on what's actually relevant right now. You can say limping the small blind is a good play, and in theory it could be, but if you're playing 10 big blinds rake, you should find a way to avoid limping, right? But it's very easy to be out of the loop with those types of things.
Right. And another thing that just came to my mind, actually, because I believe like when you were making your course, your experience of coaching people for years actually comes in really handy when you're making this material, right? Because I think for myself, when I'm making a video trying to make a point, usually the feedback from my students is so helpful because it kind of puts things in perspective, especially like most of them are playing, well, all of them are playing lower than I am. So you get the feel of what's actually going on those stakes for the people that you're actually trying to help.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, for sure. Because I review a lot. For instance, yesterday I did a group coaching and I reviewed the footage of one of my 100NL students on PartyPoker, right? The thing is, I know what those games look like. I know the metagame roughly, and I know what people do right there and what they do wrong. So I can really focus my explanation on what actually applies to them. I'm not going to say like, oh, this is the stuff that OTB does wrong and how you exploit that. How does that matter when you don't play OTB, right? You have to actually see what works for people. So every student I also coach differently, right? Based on what I think he needs to improve. Where does cumicon fall in this line of names? What do you think? I don't know anything about PLO, so
Well, but
tell
I mean,
us.
I don't know about which names we're talking about, because cumicon obviously famously retired a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. So I don't know. I mean, obviously he was a legend of Heads Up PLO, but well, again, I mean, can we call him super successful? I mean, he clearly made a lot of money, but didn't seem like a happy guy.
Yep. And in the end, I mean, you make that money so you can, have a better life, right? You don't make money
Yeah,
just to be rich. You
yeah.
you make that money so you can go on a nice vacation or so your kids can get through college, whatever. So at a certain point, you have to also realize that,
Mm,
you gotta get out there and have fun.
yeah. And actually, the next question about PLO, that there must be some pretty decent players still struggling at 200, 500 zoom because of the high variance. For sure, that's the case. I mean, it's not only for PLO. Hold them the same, right? Because MMA just mentioned, that even the 600k hand stretch can be, it's a relatively short sample. Like in the big scheme of things, you can just run super bad in the beginning of your career, and you never actually realize your potential. So for sure, there's people who are stuck at the mid stakes. What's important is to stick with the process. What's important is to keep improving, keep working on your game, maintaining the motivation, improving your decision-making process. The rest doesn't matter. I mean, the results, you can't control them. They're going to be what they're going to be. So for that, people who succeed in this marathon of being a poker player are actually people who enjoy the process, people who are enjoying playing and making decisions and constantly improving. If
Yep.
that's not enjoyable for you, if the only thing that motivates you is money, then hey, it's a fucking horrible career to have, because things are gonna swing one way and another, and if you live with the swings and if it affects you emotionally, it's just such a tough place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. MMA, will we see you at Triton someday playing cash? I'll be there tomorrow if possible, but I've been trying to get myself into those games, but no luck so far. So, yeah, I mean, eventually I'll play more live and I'll get into that circle a little bit more, but I've been trying in Vegas for 5 years and I'm exactly where I was back then, nowhere. If you're Western European and you grind in Vegas, there's no chance of getting in a great game unless you make it yourself, basically. At Triton, it's a bit easier, but I've talked to some guys and said like, hey, is there a chance you can get me in? If the game is really big, you can buy some action or stuff like that. But they're all hesitant. Everybody wants to protect themselves, and I understand. And at the same time, they've they've done most of the heavy lifting, so that's not I have not done that. I would like to, but I haven't. So it's only fair that they also have most of the EV there, right?
Hmm.
Is your course updated whenever you guys have coaching webinars? The course is a one-time product, Yoshida, but I made sure that it's kind of like a timeless product because I talk a lot about approach and like how to do things scientifically rather than just like, this is what the metagame is right now, do this, and in 2 years it doesn't work anymore. So in 2 years, the course will still be very much relevant. Of course, we'll always keep updating our coaching library and our webinars and, follow the direction that poker is taking. But you don't have to worry in the next few years about the course being outdated. That's for sure. Will you play more PLO this year? Yes. Will Runchuks teach you? Yes, because I'm going to ask him now, and because we're on stream, he can't say no.
Okay, it's a deal.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for pressuring him.
Man, that's fun. Oh, it's actually gonna be fun. I'm gonna learn some Hold'em.
Wait,
You
nobody
see where
said that.
this is going? Man, but hey, this is on stream now. Well, actually,
Okay,
I don't
fine.
know if I wanna invest time in Hold'em.
I mean, at the same time, right? If the games are good and you can play sometimes,
Oh
it's
no,
just
man,
that.
I totally see the appeal of it, but it's exactly what you said before about like I'm not interested of actually playing, let's say mid stakes Hold'em,
Mhm.
right? But to get to the level of high stakes Hold'em online, it's so much work, right? Before I used to travel for live poker, like pretty much like 6 months a year I would be traveling for live games, right? And
Mhm.
it was super relevant for me to be able to jump into any game, any lineup, anything, right? Now I'm cutting down on my travels. So I'm not planning to travel that much. So the appeal of Hold'em is slightly dying. I still see. It still would be super interesting for me, but just knowing how much time it takes, not sure I'm gonna do it.
Sure. No, I mean, it takes time, right? Pape, Mr. Pape, how would you categorize flops and apply your PIO study approach? Well, you can just set up a different type of subset, and just for instance, if you have a board in which you know PIO C bets range, you can just pick a bunch of boards on which it bets range 1/3 and just set those up to make the trees smaller, right? And if you have boards you know it mixes on, you just run a subset of trees with those sims. So you keep this sim as small as possible. What is the best learning path for a microstakes player who doesn't have access to solvers? Forums, finding people to talk to that you respect, videos, and just playing. And those are all things we have added to BluffTheSpot, even in the microstakes program, Thanos. For a small stakes player who, like me, who plays on a 50, 10 to 12 BB per 100, what would your course do for me? What advice would you give me? My advice would be to just keep working, right? You're clearly doing something right at the moment. Just do everything you're doing right now, but try and do it better. So study more, play more, try and improve your game. As I said, talk to other people, watch videos. You can become a student or buy the course. Just find every tool available to become a better player. And then it's just about grinding it out. And of course, having a smart approach, right? So more is not always better, but finding ways to improve your EV by playing on the best sites at the right times, in the right games, etc. And thank you for the compliment.
Thanks a lot.
How does the ultimate course compare to your group coaching libraries? Well, that's something completely different, right? So in a group coaching, we usually take about 4 people. We talk about, we discuss a topic beforehand. So yesterday I did a coaching session and we did 3-bet pots out of position. So all the students bring about 2 hand histories and we review them, right? And on my end, I use PIOsolver and I just explain my thoughts while they ask questions. So it's like an interactive coaching session about a very specific topic. Whereas the course is more about like defending your big blind, 3-bet pots out of position, 3-bet pots in position, working with PIOsolver, etc. So it's not an interactive session. It's just me presenting content. What are your thoughts on playing 10 months of 150K, 10 months of 150 games of NL500 Zoom with a solid 7 to 10 BB win rate? That sounds extremely difficult, StarCraft. Grinding that much and having that high of a win rate, that seems very unrealistic. Is Jonathan Little an investor in BTS? BTS has no investors, I'll tell you that much. And no, Jonathan Little is not one of them. I've never talked to the guy. He's a tournament player, right? I know he does some kind of coaching stuff himself. I don't know anything about the guy, so... But no, he is not involved in BTS in any way. What are your thoughts on Kanu as a player? Was he among the best? Years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, he was definitely among the best. However, now he would not be because he doesn't play anymore. But is he still a competent player who could teach you a thing or two? Sure. And is he a good guy? Absolutely. It's just, he hasn't played in years. There's nothing you can do at a high level when you quit for a few years, right? If you're a professional boxer, you're a world champion, you don't train for 4 or 5 years, you're not going to be a world champion anymore. You might still be good. You can still teach people some stuff, absolutely, and be a great guy in the process, but you cannot be at the top if you don't practice. Simple. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, it's so true. It's impossible. Like, first of all, the game goes on. The game evolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're away from the game, if you're not keeping, let's say, your keeping up with what's going on, like how are you ever gonna be, like even if you are still at the same level, you didn't lose any skill after 2 years away from the game and you jump in, the game moved on, your skill is no longer there.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to keep up. Thoughts on characters and the grinders manual? You might as well be speaking Chinese to me, says Jonathan. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, me neither.
If you ask me about guys like Kanu, I know them quite well. However, if you ask me about any type of vloggers or media content or news in poker or who's good in tournaments, I have absolutely no idea. I don't follow poker. I work on my own career, so I work on becoming better and playing and working on with the students, etc. Other than that, I have no clue. If you ask me who's ranked #1 in the GPI, I have no idea. Who's ranked number 1? Negreanu?
I got no idea either.
I have no idea.
Because like yourself, I mean, I'm too busy with my own thing to pay attention to what other people are doing. I mean, I'm paying attention to what my opponents are doing, but that's for specific reasons. You know, I'm monetarily interested to keep up, but other than that, couldn't care less.
On a scale from douchebag to scumbag, where does Alec Torelli fall? Well, as I just said, like, I know who he is. He's American old school player. I don't know. I don't know anything. I know it was this angling thing once. I don't know if he did. Like, I don't really care either way. I don't know. Is he going to be a top player? Absolutely not. But I don't know. You know, he's been successful, it seems. So, you know, there's that. But I don't know anything. I don't have anything good or bad to say about the guy. What are the main reasons not to c-bet? Well, if your opponent is doing quite well, therefore you are often not. So it doesn't make sense to put more money in the pot when you're in a bad situation, right? That's the simplest way I can put it. What do you think about Katya18? I like Katya. He's a really funny guy, actually. He has the most dry, like, Eastern European humor there is, but he's funny. He's a good player. I mean, he's clearly withstood the test of time. I think that's how you say it in English, right? You know, he's been around forever. He's still at high stakes. People are not giving him that much action. He's a good player, sure. Sometimes he doesn't play so well. Sometimes he plays very well. But also, he's a guy, you know, he's rich. He doesn't really care. He just plays some poker. And he does a good job. What is the current NL50 100 meta like? What is the difference between stars and poker party meta? There's not as much of a difference, although party poker games are a bit softer, in my opinion. The real bit difference is between those and like the American sites that some of the students play on, or like the shadier sites. But if you look at like stars versus microgaming versus party, though the meta game there is not a whole lot. Of course it's different, but it's not like completely different. It's more like, you know, some people a bit looser, tighter, more bluff heavy, different opening sizes, different types of nittiness, but nothing huge, nothing dramatic. Do you play on any of those sites? Just other sites.
Other sites, yeah. I mean, obviously I play pretty much all the sites, all the major sites. Haven't been playing party poker actually for quite a while. I don't know why. Yeah, should get back to it. I heard the games are okay. So yeah, but other than that, yeah, of course I'm playing all the sites.
Party poker doesn't have many games, but when they run, they're usually pretty good.
Yeah,
I was playing with 10K three-handed the other day with Katya18, and I was playing with Sam Trickett, and I only know because he's a party poker pro, so you see his name, and we chatted a bit. And he told me that in March there's some big changes coming. And I probably was not supposed to say that actually, but he just mentioned, if he mentions in a poker chat, then you can.
Yeah, it's pretty much public.
Yeah.
So interesting. He was playing there because I was playing against him a couple days ago as well. It was my first session this year, and he was playing PLO on stars. So I suppose he was just playing also all the sites as well.
Yep.
Anyway, listen, I think let's choose one last question to address, and then we can wrap it up. It's been quite a cool discussion we had here, and so let's go. Choose one, we address it, and then we say our bye-byes.
I'll be naughty and say 2. What kind of changes? Right. I don't know, because he hasn't told me. But I think with the lobby system especially. What do you think of JNandez? I think you can answer that question better than I can, because I know he's had some issues before, but I know he's a good player. What do you think?
Wow, what do I think about JNandez? Well, I don't think much about him because he's never in my games. I suppose he's playing on stars or somewhere. No, on Party Poker or somewhere, I don't know. Probably Party Poker. So yeah, he's not in my game, so I don't know his level. To be honest, I don't even care. There was this recent controversy with him accepting Phil Galfond challenge and then dropping out.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he accepted it, and then like 2 days later, he said no because he realized that he made a mistake. Right. Well, that was a bit ridiculous, but to be honest, I don't know if that is such a bad thing. It's not too bad because like it felt a bit weird that he accepted it, like basically jumping in last minute. Because I was also contemplating this challenge, and I've been talking to Phil over a period of like 3 weeks. pretty much every day, trying to figure out the details, like how we're gonna do it. You know, the time zone differences, the etc. All the other commitments. It's a 50K challenge. It's a fucking huge thing, right? It's a huge commitment. So eventually, I came to a conclusion that hey, I can't do it because my life is just gonna suck, right? And meanwhile, JNandez just kind of was in discussion with Phil for 2 days and accepted it. So I can't really blame him, right? It took me like 3 weeks to actually figure out that no, listen, this is too difficult, too big of a challenge. Like if I had nothing else to do with my life, then it's a great deal. But I have other things to do. So
at least, I mean, if he declines early and he doesn't cause any problems, then it's fine. It's fine to admit to a mistake rather than just go through with
something. And I think because like. I think a lot of people went after him unnecessarily, just saying, you're scammy or whatever, and all your baggage from previous bad deals, etc. I think it's too harsh because it really, I think the way he handled it was fine. Yeah, he accepted it, but then, quickly dropping out. And I'm sure that he didn't even, he stipulated with Phil that, he's still thinking about it. Like, let's announce it publicly, but, it's not done deal. It's not signed yet, so I think it's fine. Don't see a problem there.
No, sure. So, I mean, I get it. He's got some other things going on, so I get that it's easy to shit on him, but I don't think that's too bad. As long as he doesn't waste anybody's time or get anyone in trouble, if you cancel early enough, it's I think it's fair.
Especially the thing of him just contemplating the idea for like 2 days or something, and then saying yes. Because like when I started thinking about this challenge, like the first 2-3 days, I was just so pumped. Let's do it. Absolutely, let's do it. The more you think, the more you start talking logistics with Phil. Like, okay, how do we move the money? How do we secure the funds? Which time of the day can you play? Oh, you're in Canada. We have 11-hour time difference. So how's that going to look? Who needs to wake up 4 a.m. every day? Then you start counting. Oh, so you want to play like 5 days or 6 days in a row, 8-hour sessions, no breaks, etc., full commitments. If you, make... like miss a day, you're liable to pay penalties, etc. Then you realize, oh Jesus, I'm doing poker because it gives me freedom, so I'm signing this because of why exactly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So even that, it's not even just the playing, but you probably spend like 20 hours just negotiating everything, just figuring out all the logistics. So it's not something you agree to in a few minutes because you really have to like come up, find money and think about the EV and like, change your commitments and whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a big event.
And once all of that sort of legal and other stuff is sorted out, then you have to start studying like super hard because I mean, Phil is obviously also studying super hard for these challenges. And the thing is, so you're dropping out of your regular games and all your other commitments for the time when you need to study. So it's, it's not only 50,000 hands, which already is a huge commitment. It's commitment beyond that because you basically need to, invest another month leading up to it and just basically studying like a maniac. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I hope that satisfies you guys. Seems like it has. All right. Are we going to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Listen, man, thank you so much for coming on. Especially on a short notice, we kind of just winged it and said, hey, you want to come on the show? You were game, and it's amazing. I really appreciate it. I really like the conversation. So many cool ideas we discussed. And yeah, all you guys, it's going to be on YouTube this Sunday. So you can look it up. And, viewers, you've been amazing. I really love the questions. We had so many great questions from you guys. You basically led this conversation in many ways where we didn't expect it to go, and it's so cool. I really appreciate all of you guys.
Yeah, so we'll see each other again this week, hopefully, guys, and have a good night. See you.
Yeah, see you. And by the way, stay tuned because Arthur is streaming right after us. All right. Bye.
All right, see you guys.